It's a portrait of my mom in her front yard, which is a house that I grew up in San Fernando Valley. So the house is located in Silmar. Really like this composition because it shows like her garden, and I was able to get the street sign in the background. The house is located on Borden Avenue. So you can see that peeking through the cactuses and some of the pretty recent electrical wire that's up on top, which I didn't really notice until I started sketching out the composition. I'm like, 'cause they weren't there when I was younger. And so when I started sketching out the composition, I'm like, oh, whoa, like, there's a lot of wires out there. This is a portrait of my partner Edgar, and this was on his 32nd birthday. So this birthday took place during the pandemic, and since we weren't able to like go out and celebrate, we did a little photo shoot in the studio. So we set up lights, we had birthday cakes, and then when his family sang happy birthday to him, we were throwing money at him just for fun. And then when I looked back at some of those shots, I'm like, well, these would be like a really cool painting. So I love the colors, the temperatures of the painting with the cool and the warms. And so I kept a lot of the original elements that we put on the table. Some of his personal items, like the luchador mask that he really got into recently. I ended up putting a little green frog at the bottom just because in Spanish, when you say happy birthday, sometimes you say sapo verde, which translates into like green toad actually. So I thought that was funny. I always try to tie back some Hispanic or Mexican folklore, storytelling, or mythology back into my work. Photo reference of this photo was taken in Mexico. It's a portrait of my dad. The photograph was taken in San Clemente, Jalisco. The house belonged to my great aunt, and it was built by her husband in like the 1920s. And so when she passed away, her daughters lived too far to be able to keep up with the upkeep and the maintenance of the house. And so they reached out to my dad to see if he would be interested in purchasing it. He took them up on the offer, and so every now and then we go back and do maintenance on the house and just take like a break from work out there. With this painting, I like to tie it back to some of the Aztec mythology that I've been working on. And so this one parallels with the god of smoke and mirrors. And so I did a little bit of wordplay with the title of the painting. The title of this painting is Smoking, Mirror, because he's smoking a cigarette here, and I ended up putting an obsidian mirror in the background. And so when the Aztecs would speak about mirrors, they would be obsidian mirrors, so they would just polish the rock, and that's how they were able to look at the reflection. That pile of brick has been there who knows how long. I just feel like it was an old project that never happened when my aunt was alive. And now it's like my dad's pile of brick. He's like, no, don't get rid of it. What if we actually do something with it? So I think it's just like interesting how like we hold on to things in the hopes that, we'll do something with them. Besides being the god of smoking mirror, he's also the god of the north and sacrifice. These symbolisms were a good pairing for my dad. He did come to the north for work. Thought that was like the perfect parallels for him. This is an older piece. I believe I finished this in 2020, and it ties back to when I was working on the story of the 400 rabbits. So the Aztecs believe that there were these gods or spirits that took over your body whenever you got intoxicated, and they were in the form of rabbits. Each rabbit represented a different level of intoxication. What the Aztecs drank was pulque made out of the agave plant, and that was reserved for elders or special occasions. And if there were times that you abused these powers, or you drank pulque or got intoxicated whenever you weren't supposed to, if it wasn't, you didn't give an offering, it wasn't a special occasion, or whatever, there were ways that these rabbits or gods like came back and ended up killing you in certain ways while you were intoxicated. And so one of them was death by drowning. This is a self-portrait. It's in reference to the goddess of Maguey, and you can see the rabbits in the bottom. And so in Aztec mythology, they explain the goddess of the maguey coming out of the maguey plant. This is in reference to her story and the symbolisms of that story. And I also see this as a transitional piece between the 400 Rabbit series that I was working on and also the new portrait series that I've been doing.